of June 2021, a day when the Kenya 2021-2022 budget has been presented in Parliament, and we have prepared a comprehensive bulletin on the highlights. Good evening. My name is Tess Njenga, and our sign language interpreter is Boniface Mureithi. Welcome. Treasury Cabinet Secretary Ukur Yatani has directed government ministries, departments and agencies and county governments to clear all verified pending bills by the end of June. While delivering his budget statement for 2021-2022 financial year, Yatani noted that the delays in payment of pending bills to businesses that have offered services to both the national and county government has affected the liquidity of the entities, while the actual total figure of pending bills is not clear. Government owes various suppliers at least 300 billion shillings, with more than billions owed by county governments. Alice Diana tells us more.
Despite a presidential directive in June 2019 that all pending bills by government be cleared immediately, many suppliers are still crying foul as the pending bills continue to pile up, with the Budget Committee criticizing Treasury over the accumulation of pending bills.
I hereby direct that all accounting officers pay and settle all pending bills that do not have audit queries on or before the end of the current financial year, 30th June 2019.
Almost all government ministries and departments owe suppliers bills older than the current financial year. In his budget statement on Thursday, Treasury Cabinet Secretary Ukur Yatani said all verified pending bills must be paid by June 30th before the commencement of the new financial year. Yatani noted that the delays in payment of pending bills to businesses that have offered services to both the national and county governments have affected the liquidity of the entities.
Delays in payment of pending bills to businesses who provide services to both national and county government has affected liquidity and operation of these entities. In a number of cases, this has led to closure of businesses and affected livelihoods of the suppliers. Though progress was made in settlement of these bills by the national government, we still have challenges with the county government that still owe various suppliers huge amounts.
Yatani has asked Parliament to suspend funds allocations to public entities which do not adhere to his directive.
I urge the House to support our efforts towards enforcing compliance in payment of all verified pending bills by the county government by backing our proposal under Article 225 of the Constitution of Kenya to temporarily stop transfers to county government that persistently fail to comply with the directive to clear pending bills.
A report of the Budget Appropriations Committee shows that Transport and Infrastructure Ministry lists the pack of pending bills with 99 billion shillings owed to suppliers under the Infrastructure Department. The Defence Ministry owes suppliers 8.1 billion shillings. Correctional Services Department under the Interior Ministry owes suppliers up to 6.2 billion shillings. The Lands Ministry owes 7.2 billion shillings in form of court and arbitration awards dating back to 2005. At the Livestock Department, pending bills amount to over 4.02 billion shillings. The Water Ministry has accrued pending bills of at least 7.08 billion shillings. Some of the reasons cited by the Parliamentary Budget and Appropriations Committee for the pending bills include under allocations to department and agencies. For Hope TV Newswatch, I'm Alice Diana.
The Ministry of Health is among key sectors that are expected to reap greatly with the allocation of 121.1 billion Kenya shillings in the 2021-2022 financial year. While reading the budget statement in Parliament today, Ukur Yatani announced an additional 9 billion Kenya shillings, up from 111.7 billion Kenya shillings allocated in the last financial year. The CS said the monies will go towards strengthening various health programs, including upscaling the implementation of universal health care in the wake of the COVID-19 pandemic. As Dolly Mwirigi tells us, 14.3 billion Kenya shillings has been allocated to facilitate the rollout of COVID-19 vaccines across the country.
The government has allocated 14.3 billion in the 2021-2022 budget to facilitate the rollout of COVID-19 vaccines across the country. Unveiling the budget allocation in Parliament on Thursday, National Treasury Cabinet Secretary Ukur Yatani said the amount is in addition to the 7.6 billion allocated in the current budget. The CS pointed out that the government is keen on creating herd immunity through vaccination to battle the pandemic, which has so far claimed 3,000 people in the country.
The COVID-19 pandemic has triggered one of the worst health and economic crises of our time. The pandemic overstretched our health systems, and in line with the advisory of the World Health Organization, the government implemented appropriate interventions to save lives. The response has undoubtedly strengthened our healthcare system through provisioning of necessary medical supplies, installation of modern equipment, and deployment of more health personnel.
It was expected that the proposed health budget for 2021-2022 financial year would have provision for COVID-19 interventions, including buying of vaccines, testing, as well as scientific research. The 121 billion allocation to the Health Ministry, which is a near flat growth compared to 119 billion in the last financial year, a budget that was done before the pandemic struck, with the attorney saying the monies will go towards strengthening various health programs, including upscaling the implementation of universal healthcare in the wake of COVID-19 pandemic.
The projected recovery reflects additional fiscal support in a few large economies and monetary easing that further uplifts the economic outlook. This outlook is further supported by the ongoing vaccinations, which is expected to pick up in the second half of 2021. In this regard, Mr. Speaker, the global economy is projected to grow by 6% in 2021, from a contraction of 3.3% in 2020.
In March this year, the government launched the National COVID-19 Vaccination Program, targeting frontline workers and other vulnerable groups. At the end of May, about 1 million people had received the first dose, with the Ministry of Health now underway with the rollout of the second phase of vaccination. The Ministry of Health had cited that those who received the first dose in March, a majority of whom were healthcare workers, will be given priority as the country seeks to progressively acquire other doses. Of the budget, 47.7 billion will finance the Universal Healthcare Program. 8.7 billion will go towards COVID-19 emergency response kitty. 4.1 billion will cater for free maternal health care, while 1.8 billion will go towards providing medical cover for the elderly and disabled, and 7.2 billion for the managed equipment services. To lower cases of HIV, AIDS, malaria and tuberculosis in the country, 5.8 billion has been set aside. To reduce cancer burden, the government has proposed an allocation of 450 million for procurement of cyberknife radiotherapy equipment for Kenyatta University Teaching, Referral and Research Hospital. A further 350 million has been set aside for the establishment of 2 cancer centers in Meru and Kakamega. 863 million has been set aside for the procurement of family planning and reproductive health commodities, and another 600 million for procurement of equipment as a national blood transfusion services. To improve health service delivery, 15.2 billion has been set aside for Kenyatta National Hospital, 11.5 billion for Moi Teaching and Referral Hospital, 7.3 billion for the Kenya Medical Training Centers, 2.8 billion for Kenya Medical Research Institute, 1.3 billion for the construction of Kenya National Hospital Burns and Pediatric Centers. Dolly Mirigi for Hope TV News Watch.
Thank you, Dolly. Let's take a detour. Deputy President William Ruto has said the change of the constitution should not be informed by the pursuits of those in power. He noted that in a circumstance where the interests of those in power are in conflict with the constitution, then the pursuit should be changed to be in line with the constitution. The deputy president explained that Kenya was past the era when those in power would abuse the constitution and institutions created by it to drive their agenda.
Ati mamlaka na kutafuta uongozi itafuata vile mtu anataka, na sheria na katiba itamsaidia kutimiza malengo yake. Na malengo yake yakiwa tofauti na vile katiba inasema, katiba ibadilishwe ndio ifuatane na malengo ya mtu. Lakini sisi tunasema uongozi na mamlaka ni ya wananchi. na kila mmoja ambaye anapatiwa mamlaka lazima atekeleze kulingana na sheria, kufuata katiba, na malengo yakitofautiana na katiba ni malengo yabadilishwe ili yaambatane na katiba, sio katiba ibadilishwe iambatane na malengo ya mtu binafsi. Kuna watu wanatuambia tuendelee vile tumekuwa tukiendelea na trickle down economics ambaye inashughulikia watu wachache. Watu wale wengi waendelee na kupiga kamari ya pata potea. Sisi tunasema hapana, tubadilishe uchumi ili sera ya serikali ilenge kila mwananchi apate nafasi ya kufanya kazi, na kila biashara ndogo ipate msaada, ndio tuweze kutengeneza kampuni kubwa kutoka kampuni ndogo, na tuhakikisha kwamba Wakenya wote wanatembea pamoja.
Back to the budget, various elected leaders have expressed mixed reactions hours after Treasury Cabinet Secretary Ukur Yatani unveiled the 2020-2021 financial year budget in Parliament. The 3.6 trillion budget saw health, education and defense ministries get the biggest allocations, as Dickens Luvanda reports.
Affordable housing program is a pragmatic approach to addressing the housing problem, especially in the urban centers. To ensure success of this initiative, I have proposed an allocation of shillings 13.9 billion for the affordable housing program. The proposed allocation includes shillings 3.5 billion to Kenya Mortgage Refinance Company for establishment of the company's capital, as well as for own lending to primary mortgage lenders. Shilling 8.2 billion for construction of affordable housing units, as well as shilling 500 million for construction of social housing units.
Treasury Cabinet Secretary Ukur Yatani, as he read out the 2021-2022 financial year budget estimates before the National Assembly, admitted that it largely revolved around the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic and its containment measures.
As we recall, following the outbreak of COVID-19 pandemic in March last year, the government instituted containment measures to curb the spread of the virus and save lives. To cushion Kenyans and businesses, the government rolled out specific fiscal interventions, including reduction of pay as you earn. Our economy was not spared from the adverse impact of the pandemic. In addition, the Kenyan economy experienced two other shocks. One, the invasion of the desert locusts that damaged crops, and two, floods that caused loss of lives and livelihoods, displacement of people, and destruction of infrastructure.
The 3.6 trillion shillings budget saw the government allocate 121.1 billion shillings to the Health Ministry, 202.8 billion shillings to the Education Ministry, 294.5 billion shillings to the Ministry of Defense, 182.5 billion shillings to the Ministry of Transport, and 60 billion shillings to the Ministry of Agriculture.
Members of Parliament, you may have realized that there wasn't much reaction because there wasn't anything new, maybe apart from the waiving of taxation on COVID-related drugs and of course the reagents. Otherwise, most of what he was reading is what we have been going through, and I am looking forward to us looking at the budget more intensively.
Today we have had a very interesting budget, one of the biggest in the history of Kenya, and the one which looks transformative because being the last budget for the second last budget for Jubilee government under the presidency of Uhuru, we are hoping that it will cement his legacy to the Kenyans. But more importantly, we are hoping they will be able to address the issues of unemployment, because the biggest challenge we have as a country is unemployment of our youth.
Even so, Kenya is 1.7 trillion shillings away from hitting the debt ceiling, and the nearly 1 trillion shillings deficit in the 2021-2022 financial year budget means that if the budget is successfully approved, the country will be a few billion shillings away from shattering the ceiling, therefore plunging the country into a financial crisis if no law exists to allow more borrowing.
The government will continue with the implementation of the economic stimulus program in the financial 2021-22. With regards, with targets to cushion vulnerable citizens and businesses, particularly those affected by the COVID-19 pandemic.
Bajeti ya leo ndio bajeti kubwa sana, makadirio ya bajeti ndio kubwa sana tangu independence ya Kenya. Na kawaida bajeti ikikuwa kubwa sana, taxes zinaenda inamaanisha kwamba watu watalipa ushuru zaidi.
In Yatani's budget, 294.5 billion shillings has been allocated to the Ministry of Defense, National Police and National Intelligence Service to support its programs. In a step up in the war against crime, the Treasury set aside 1.5 billion shillings for the National Communication and Surveillance System and a whopping 168 billion shillings to the security sector, with the transport sector getting 182.5 billion shillings. Nominated Member of Parliament Godfrey Osotsi says the 3.6 trillion shillings budget is a burden to the taxpayers who have already been burdened by the outbreak of the COVID-19 pandemic. The 3.6 trillion shillings 2021-2022 financial year budget, unveiled before the National Assembly by Treasury Cabinet Secretary Ukur Yatani, has slightly gone up from the last fiscal year's budget of 2.91 trillion shillings, therefore putting pressure to the common taxpayer. Dickens Lovanda, Hope TV News Watch at Parliament Buildings, Nairobi County.
Thank you, Dickens. Giving the proposal for the next financial year, Yatani said Kenya's budget for 2022 is supported by the projected global economy recovery, with the global economy expected to grow by 6% from 3.3% contraction in 2020 occasioned by the COVID-19 pandemic. Some of the winners in the new financial year include health, education, energy, infrastructure, ICT, and national security, as Alice Diana tells us more details.
In his mega money budget unveiled on Thursday, Treasury CS Ukur Yatani allocated 142.1 billion shillings towards the Big Four agenda projects, announcing that the government will focus its attention on the completion of priority programs in economic recovery efforts and spelled out 7 targeted strategic interventions to achieve these. The CS allocated 121.1 billion shillings to Health Ministry, 60 billion shillings to Agriculture, 182.5 billion shillings to Transport, and 295.5 billion shillings to Defense and Interior Ministries.
In order to support our aspirations of attaining 100% food and nutrition security, I have set aside $60 billion to relevant programs in this budget. Out of these, $7 billion will go to the National Agricultural and Rural Inclusivity Project, $2.7 billion for the Kenya Cereal Enhancement Program, $1.8 billion has been proposed for the Emergency Locust Response, $1.5 billion for the National Value Chain Support Program, $1.5 billion for the Agricultural Sector Development Support Program 2, $1.5 billion for the Small Scale Irrigation and Value Addition Project.
The Education Ministry was given 202.8 billion shillings, 12 billion shillings channeled for free primary education program, and 62.2 billion shillings to free day secondary education. Teachers Employer TSC was allocated 281.7 billion shillings, while the ICT Ministry will receive 20.9 billion shillings in the 2021-2022 financial year. Delivering his budget speech at the National Assembly, Yatani set aside 23.1 billion shillings to cushion the vulnerable and proposed to allocate 27 billion shillings for the Nairobi Metropolitan Service.
The plight of the vulnerable in our society, particularly the emerging urban vulnerable, remains a key concern for our government. In order to cushion this particular group, the government will enhance cash transfer allocations and institute other targeted interventions in this budget.
182 billion shillings will go towards supporting the construction of roads and bridges and their maintenance.
The government continues to expand critical infrastructure in roads, rails, sea and airports to create an enabling environment for economic recovery and employment creation. Towards this end, I have proposed an allocation of shilling 182.5 billion, excluding the provisions I have set aside for the economic stimulus program and the Big Four agenda.
The much-awaited 2021-2022 financial year budget has finally been unveiled amid the COVID-19 pandemic, with Treasury CS Ukur Yatani saying the government shall implement a comprehensive economic recovery strategy. For Hope TV Newswatch at Parliament Buildings in Nairobi, I'm Alice Diana.
Thank you, Alice. Meanwhile, Kenyans are skeptic even as the National Treasury presented the 2021-2022 budget estimates. The increasing debt burden and lack of accountability in the government poses a questionable concern as to whether the country can successfully elevate the fiscal situation. Tiffany Wamboi now reports.
Despite the current strategies the government is applying to restore the economic recession of the country, various citizens are rather unsettled in their confidence of the 2021-2022 pronounced budget. Funds that have not been accounted for and questionable sources of funding add to the concerns of the citizens. As of December 2020, Kenya's public debt stood at 7.2 trillion Kenya shillings, as reported by the National Treasury. With this outstanding amount, increased borrowing further worsens economic stability and proves to be a threat to the nation's success in uplifting the fiscal situation. Here's what various citizens had to say.
Gali naongea kuhusu budget nzuri, but lakini where is the funding? Ni kitu itakuwa na short ama ni kitu wako sure itatimiza mahitaji wa Kenya.
I really don't support the way they're budgeting the staff, because the money is a lot of money which is not accommodated for. Like when you ask where did this money go, it is not utilized. It is not used the right way, you know. And then they're like getting more money, the loans and the debts which Kenya owes. Yeah, and it will really affect the economy later.
Further, the COVID-19 pandemic has severely paralyzed various sectors in the country, and the health situation is increasingly aggravating. The common mwananchi cries out in frustration as high standards of living generated by the pandemic are becoming tougher each passing day.
Uchumi imeenda sana juu, kama sukari sahi ni kobi juu sana. Hata ukiangalia penye ilikuwa kitambo si kama vile iko sahi. Sahi kama tunapanda mambo ya fare, sahi tunaenda mbali. Haiwezi katufurahisha sana, lakini kama serikali haituangalie sisi tu vijana. Ngana hiyo budget venye imesomwa. Naona sisi wa Kenya tumeingia kwa shimo nyingine kubwa sana ya maloni. Sasa hivi venye tuko na corona, hakuna pesa ya kuhifadhi hiyo budget. Hiyo budget iko juu sana. Na hakuna pesa.
Reporting for Hope TV Newswatch, I'm Tiffany Wamboi.
Thank you, Alice. We now take our first commercial break on Newswatch tonight. We have much more news coming up, so keep it Hope TV. Welcome back. Taking a look at COVID-19 numbers today, 624 people have tested positive for the disease from a sample size of 6,728 tested in the last 24 hours with a positivity rate of 9.3%. Total confirmed positive cases are now 174,985 and cumulative tests so far conducted are 1,852,612. 313 patients have recovered and total recoveries now stand at 119,246. Sadly, 17 people have succumbed to the disease, all of them being late deaths reported after conducting facility record audits on diverse dates. This now pushes the cumulative fatalities to 3,362. Former KANU Women Congress leader Damaris Storr has unveiled her own political party few days after she received certificate of registration from the Registrar of Political Parties. Storr, who is now the youngest woman in Kenya and the only woman in the Rift Valley region to own a political party, Chama ya Mapatano CYMK, resigned from the Independence Party in October 2020 to pursue other professional interests. She says her party's main aim is to unite the people of Rift Valley and Kenyans at large ahead of the 2022 general elections.
I get into this field not because I have financial muscle, but because I strongly believe that it's time we got rid of this notion of politics of money. I don't believe that we should continue living on politics of money, because that is the kind of politics that corrupts. We have made Kenyan politics about the highest bidder, that if I don't have 1 billion shillings, I can't run for the presidency or governor or for MP. But ask yourself, who in this country can genuinely say they have worked hard and earned 1 billion shillings to spend in an election? Our founding fathers did not fight for independence only for us to curtail people's dreams because we didn't steal from hardworking Kenyans. I want my daughters to grow up in the knowledge that Kenya is a great country where when a young girl from Karachuonyo, a young girl from Lamu, a young girl from Mosop, or a woman from Marsabit launches a political party, she's not asked how much money she has, but what ideas does she present. For us, we're just saying tunapatana. My party is here to ask Senator Moi and to ask Deputy President to come together, and we all work together for the better of this country. One of the people at our SG said sometimes back, why is it that when we go to church, we meet together? When somebody is getting married, we all come together, agree, and move forward. When somebody is getting, buried, we all come together and bury the person. How is it that when it comes to politics, it becomes very hard for us to come together and agree on one thing? So for us, we're just asking these people from Nandi, our leaders from Nandi County, our leaders from the country, we are asking them, let's forget about this decisiveness of not agreeing with each other. As Christians, we need to look back and answer, who is the force behind this person? Who is this person accountable to? Is this person godly? Who is the force behind? Because somebody is answerable to someone, somewhere. If it is, we need to agree. If this person answers to the Christian nation through Jesus Christ, is it the person that we want? But here we are as Christians, we've fallen back. We've sat down, we've let people make decisions. Some of the decisions are made without consulting the Christians, and they're not consulting the nations. Yet when they're in need, they come back to church, they kneel, and they ask for prayers.
The government has lifted the ban on flights to and from Somalia. In a statement, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs said the change of heart was necessitated by mutual interests of the two countries in the hope that full normalization of bilateral relations will occur. The statement further said that existing COVID-19 protocols will apply to all passengers from Somalia to Kenya as directed by Kenya's Civil Aviation Authority. COVID-19 certificates are required as proof that one does not have the virus before leaving or entering the country. The certificates have trusted travel initiative codes, which are issued upon taking RT-PCR COVID-19 tests and is verifiable by airlines and port health authorities. Let's go to international news. The International Monetary Fund, IMF, has advised Tanzania to publish data on the spread of COVID-19 before getting approval for a $574 million emergency loan. Jens Rink, the IMF's resident representative in Tanzania, said publication of such data will be a precondition of moving ahead in order to justify emergency financing in the context of the pandemic. Reporting numbers on coronavirus infections and deaths will be an about turn for the government that has not done so since May last year, when then President John Magufuli's administration played down the threat from the disease. Since his death in March, new leader Samia Hassan has signaled a shift in policy by appointing an advisory team on how to tackle the pandemic and started a process to procure vaccines. However, the government is yet to give numbers on the disease. The United States is providing more than $181 million to deliver food, water, and aid to feed more than 3 million people it said were facing famine in the Tigray region of Ethiopia, where thousands have been killed since conflict erupted in November. The aid provided through the U.S. Agency for International Development, USAID, will provide enough food to feed 3 million people for nearly 2 months, as well as seeds, tools, and fertilizers to help farmers replant crops, according to a statement from the USAID. The agency will also provide safe spaces and psychological support for women and girls, as well as case management for survivors of gender-based violence, according to the statement. Thousands of people have been killed since the conflict erupted. 2 million have been forced from their homes, and 91% of the population of nearly 6 million are in need of aid, according to the latest report by the UN Office of the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs. On that note, let's take our second commercial break on Newswatch Tonight. We'll be back shortly with business and sports news.
We praise together, we praise Him.
Whether you are fat or thin, and for me, I don't consider myself fat. I consider myself good for my purpose. To hug women. When they come crying and they come and hug me, they just come and I hug them and they cry and cry and cry until they are comfortable.
We praise together, we praise Him.
And in business news, energy producer Kenya Electricity Generating Company PLC, KenGen, has started installing a steam turbine into the Olkaria 1AU6 power plant, signaling a major breakthrough in the ongoing construction of the power plant. KenGen says this is a great achievement given that the steam turbine is the heart of the power plant. It is the component that is usually rotated to drive the generator that produces electricity. KenGen Managing Director and CEO Rebecca Miano said the installation of the turbine's lower casing starts today, Thursday. She further revealed that this was the first time a Fuji turbine was being installed not only in Kenya but in Africa. Fuji Electric, which is the turbine manufacturer, has deployed technical advisor who will oversee the whole installation process and ensure success. in sports, Titus Ekiru is the sports personality of the month of May. Ekiru, who posted a world-leading time 2 hours, 2 minutes and 57 seconds. Titus has won Seville and Honolulu Marathon in 2017 half marathon at the African Games, the Portugal half marathon, and this year's Milan City Marathon in Italy. In winning the May Award, Ekiru beat competition from 2019 World Junior Cross-Country Champion Beatrice Chebet, who won the 3,000 meters race at Doha Diamond League, meeting in May in a personal best and world-leading time of 8 hours, 27 minutes and 49 seconds. Ekiru says he now focuses on Chicago and London marathons, which are all scheduled for October. The sports fraternity has something to smile about after the government allocated 15 billion shillings to the sector in the 2021-2022 financial year. This is an increase of 1 billion compared to the 2020-2021 financial year. Sports has been halted several times due to COVID-19 pandemic since last year, March 2020.
WRC, Safari Rally Kenya, and KCB have had an opening event today where the CEO of WRC, Phineas Kimathi, is happy that together with the KCB and the long-awaited World Rally Championship, Safari Rally Kenya 2021 has been made possible. This is after the coronavirus pandemic made it quite hard for the event to take place due to the measures that had been put forward to curb the spread of the virus. They committed an amount of 100 million Kenyan shillings for the betterment of the sporting activities, which cuts across various disciplines.
We are in a very good place because we have been preparing for this for many years, and we started in 2015 to find ways and means of returning the safari back to the WRC family. We achieved that in 2019 with the candidate event that was very, very successful, and we have gone on to prepare. We were prepared to run the event in 2020 in July, but COVID-19 came knocking and we had to wait for another date in 2021. Now we are just 2 weeks to the event and we are gearing to go.
In addition, KCB brought a fun activity of selecting a 50th lucky winner of the lottery to watch the events from above the sky.
We apologize for that mix-up. WRC, Safari Rally Kenya and KCB have today launched a chopper at the Kasarani Stadium grounds. WRC Safari Rally has made a partnership with KCB where they have committed 100 million Kenya shillings to support the 2021 World Rally Championship, Safari Rally Kenya. This is to ensure the support towards motorsports, rallies, and autocross circuits through the Kenya Motor Sport Federation, KMSF. The main event is set to happen at Naivasha in the coming days.
For many years, and we started in 2015 to find ways and means of returning the safari back to the WRC family. We achieved that in 2019 with the candidate event that was very, very successful, and we have gone on to prepare. We were prepared to run the event in 2020 in July, but COVID-19 came knocking and we had to wait for another date in 2021. Now we are just 2 weeks to the event and we are gearing to go.
In addition, KCB brought a fun activity of selecting a 50th lucky winner of the lottery to watch the events from above the sky. Over the past few years, KCB has partnered with WRC towards uplifting motorsports and any other sporting activities.
So, mimi nimefurahi vizuri sana. Tulikuwa tumepangwa watu kama 16, but I was the first one. Nikaambiwa ninge kwa ndege. Then when nimefurahi sana. Tumeenda nikafurahi, nimesikia vizuri sana. So, tumepatiwa tickets, mtu achague karatasi. The first one ndio nimeambiwa atada na ndege. So I was the first one, then nikaingia, then nimesikia ride, it was okay. Yeah, na nimekuwa nikiangalia our CEO, our Phineas Kimathi, akienda na ndege, pia mimi nakuwa tu natamani, but my day imefika.
It's in 100 million shillings, and actually 100 million is just for this particular year. The total sponsorship value is 250 million shillings. So we are in this for the next 2 years. We come in as the official official financial partner, and I think it's just natural that we are in partnership with WRC and the team, because remember, KCB Bank has sponsored Rally, has been the motorsport for over 20 years, and it was only fit for us to continue sponsoring the WRC, a great opportunity. It's a global event. We have many people coming in just by the virtue of the sponsorship. There's a lot of employment that's going to happen. There's a lot of impact on the economy. So we are happy and proud to be part of that.
Celtic Football Club has unveiled their new coach, Ange Postecoglou. He joins Celtic from Yokohama Marinos, where he has delivered the J-League title. Previously, he has also won the Premiership and Championship titles in Australia's A-League. He has successfully achieved UEFA recognition and endorsement in relation to his pro license issuance by Football Australia. He begins working immediately and will be arriving in Glasgow as soon as current protocols allow. Well, it's a wrap for Newswatch tonight. Thank you for your valuable company. You can join us tomorrow, same place, same time for Newswatch. And my name is Tess Jenga, and our sign language interpreter is Boniface Mureithi. Have a good night. God bless you.